Hey guys, so I wanted to do a quick video regarding the recent events that's been going on in the U.S. lately, specifically about the Asian Americans and the hate crimes towards Asian Americans, the attacks on them and whatnot. Um, this is a one take, by the way, so if I stutter or if I get kind of lost in my train of thought, I do apologize for that. This is typically not a video that I would put out at my kind of standard, but I just feel like I needed to get the word out, and I feel like if I can make a difference in just one person's perspective, then it's worth the effort for me. And so, going off on that, I've been quiet for a few days regarding the whole situation about Asian Americans, the discrimination against them, racism, COVID-related attacks on them because we're all Chinese, and so we all carry Kung flu and the China virus and whatnot. And I've seen both sides of the coin of that kind of debate. I've seen people that are saying like, well, you guys are all related, right? Because you guys all happen to have the same name and whatnot. And, they're saying like, oh, racism doesn't exist within Asian Americans. Like, you guys are the model minority. Why are you guys even bitching about it? There are far other minorities that are suffering far greater causes than you are. And I hate to burst your bubble, man, but this is not the oppression Olympics. We're not trying to compete with one another, especially amongst minorities. Like saying, hey, you know what, African Americans, you guys had your whole little thing with BLM. Step aside, let us take the spotlight. It's not about that. That is not the message we're trying to get out there, and it's definitely not the main motive behind why I guess now all of the Asian Americans are speaking up. This whole ordeal has been happening for forever, really. I mean, it's been happening, God, even before I was born. And I remember specifically, like, when I was growing up, I've gotten racist remarks from both minorities, a few of from the evil white man and all that. But mostly it was actually, hilariously enough, from minorities. And that's primarily because, I don't know, maybe there's still that idea that Asian Americans are the model minority amongst all the other minorities. Like, we are if you weren't white, you would want to be Asian is essentially what that model minority is trying to state. That we have the best education, and we're always keeping our heads down, we're working hard, and we're always trying to please the white man and whatnot. And I just think that's absolute bullshit. That same stigma does nothing for either party, and it only further digs us in this rut of a hole, further gappening, the actual progress that we need to be making in terms of closing the gap on racial equality or inequality. I'm sorry, racial inequality. And so that doesn't do anything. That doesn't do any good. Both parties being bitter about it is not going to do anyone any good. And so I've heard that kind of BS. And then I've seen folks that they mean well, and this goes out to all the Asian Americans, my brothers and sisters, everyone who shares the same skin color as me. I'm sure you mean well. I genuinely think you mean well when you post or when you reshare a certain story on Instagram, and it's about the article. It's an article or some sort of report about the ongoing attacks about Asian Americans, and you're just trying to spread awareness. And I get that, and genuinely that matters, but it's not enough. It's not enough. I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but you may think it's enough. You may think, okay, well, I already reshared 4 or 5 or so stories regarding Asian Americans, the AAP hate crimes, and shared a link to even donate to some just causes. So I think I'm good there. I think I got all my bases covered. I think I think I'm good for the day, and so next day will be another day's work. No, that's not how it works. I'm sorry to say, that's just not how it works. It's really not how it works. That is, by definition, performative allyship, and I've seen that time and time again whenever there's some sort of massive tragedy, some sort of unexpected incident that has happened that's regarding socio-human factors and what affects us as people deep into our souls. I've seen that from time to time again, and I hate to use this as an example, but this is honestly a mirror copy of what has happened before in the past. Unfortunately, with George Floyd, with the whole BLM movement, I've seen so many folks post about the BLM movement, and they're sharing about it, and like, we're saying, if you're not with us, you're against us. And now I'm seeing the same exact things with Asian Americans saying, and I see folks that were once criticizing us Asian Americans for not getting on board with it or getting on board with it are now calling us out, saying, hey, you know what? Your problems are not that real. Or, hey, you know what? That's great and all, but honestly, what do you know about, oppression and whatnot? Because, I've had it far worse. That's not, again, it's not Oppression Olympics. So why is that even in the discussion? It's not. It shouldn't be. It's like, what the fuck? This doesn't make any sense, right? And so I'm sitting here, and I'm just trying to gather my thoughts. Like, it's not enough. It really isn't enough. You resharing a little yellow square. I mean, if you guys are familiar with 88 Rising, a popular Asian American media company, they try to start a new movement with the whole, because there was like Blackout Tuesday, and it was like the black square, and that was supposed to be solidarity for African Americans on Instagram and whatnot and other social media platforms. And now I'm seeing the same concept essentially being passed along through a little yellow square. Tell me, what is a yellow square gonna do in terms of actually progressing towards the change that we want to instill in America? Like, what is that gonna do? At best, it just starts another like, social media viral movement that is honestly just gonna lose steam and it's just gonna fizzle out a couple weeks later. I guarantee you that the US media, they're gonna pay attention to what's going on right now because we're making a lot of noise, but it's up to us to keep the noise up and actually instill change amongst ourselves and amongst with your peers. And for example, that starts with, if a friend of yours were to make a racist joke about you, unless the premise of that whole conversation was already based on some sort of like racial remarks that we can make about other ethnicities, and we're joking about it and we're all in consensus with it, you should call him out or call him or her out. You have to call him out, because every chance that you get that goes, unattended or unchecked per se, is just further digging in the hole. Like, so if they were to make a racist joke and you didn't say anything about it, they're gonna think now, oh, you know what? Okay, I'm testing the waters a little bit. Okay. He didn't seem that offended by it. That probably means we're cool now, right, or something. And no, it's not. It's not cool. It's not cool. No, Jackie Chan is not my fucking dad. No, just because there's like 10 other million wins doesn't mean we're all brothers and sisters in some weird, obscured way. No, I'm not gonna read you your fortune cookie. No, that's not how it is. That's just, these stereotypes exist because no one addresses them to begin with. And I hate to say it, but it was partially because on us too. Asian Americans are known to be very submissive, right? Just keep your head down and just, do as you're told and just keep working and working. And that's instilled from, traditional values that we carried on from our families. But the problem is, there are some things you just can't be submissive about. There are things to be passive about, and there's things that diplomacy should be the best course of action. But there are times where you need to take deliberate action and you need to go at it 100% and be active about it. Tell someone, hey, I don't really like the fact that you made a joke about me, about how my eyes are squinty, and I hate it when you guys call me chink or whatever, or a zipper head or some shit like that. That's just not how it works, and that shouldn't exist. We've got bigger problems in the world than having to worry about racism still. It's 2021 and we're still fighting within ourselves about racism. This is such, in the grand scheme of things, I hate to I'm not trying to take away from the fact that, what's going on right now is important, but this is a very small, petty issue that we're worrying about versus all the other big issues that we have going on. We need to combine our forces. We need to unite on one stand against everything to end racism across all ethnicities, regardless. I'm not trying to be a spokesperson for let's end racism for every ethnicity and or all lives matter and whatnot. But the fact of the matter is, Asian Americans right now are hurting, and we need to address the issue accordingly, and we need to act on it. And how are we going to act on it? That's the biggest thing, right? We can go all day about posting about, yellow squares, sharing little stories, feeling like we're contributing to something, but in reality, we're not really contributing much or much progress per se. Well, let's talk about actual action. What can we do? It starts with conversations. It starts with discussions. It starts with calling out a certain individual that you just ran into on the street who made a racist remark about you. It starts with standing your ground. I actually saw just I can't remember her name because there's just so many attacks lately in the U.S. regarding Asian Americans. But there was this elderly lady who actually stood her ground against some sort of I think it was like a racist man who attacked her and whatnot. But she stood her ground, and that bravado, that kind of warrior spirit within her, that's what we need. We need people to start standing up against all of it and just say enough is enough. And that brings me to my final point. And I'm of the thought process that no one is responsible for myself than myself, if that makes sense. My own safety, my own well-being, my own economic standings and whatnot, that is on me. So whatever I choose to do is on me. That's my own action. I mean, I would imagine people would agree with that. You're not going to go blame somebody else because, you got a flat tire. That was on you. That was on you. You should have dodged the pothole when you saw it, or whatever. Or, man, I was late for work because my alarm didn't go off. Because I forgot to set it. That's on you. So going off on that, I feel like what we can do in the meantime to keep ourselves safe and to further prevent or at least mitigate the frequency of Asian American attacks in the US right now is we got to be vigilant. We got to be vigilant. We got to be deliberate if we have to take action. But we also, first and foremost, we need to be aware. We need to be aware of our surroundings. I've had some instances happen to me in the past that really opened my eyes to how tunnel vision we get with our phones and with just what we're doing at the moment. We're so hyper focused in who we're texting or what kind of video we're watching on our phones or some email we're trying to follow up on. And the fact of the matter is we're so focused in on that we don't have any, spatial awareness around us. We're not aware of our surroundings. And I've seen a lot of these attacks, video footage, and you could look it up right, like at the fingertips right now. You can Google it and look at all these video footages of these Asian American attacks. And I guarantee you, at least half of them, the victim is not even aware of the person that is coming up behind him. And yeah, you could go in an argument and we can get into the little the technicals and the details of saying, well, how would they have known, the person ran up on them and whatnot. That's not the point. The point is, if you have, spatial awareness and you are aware of your surroundings, ideally you want to be aware of whoever's around you within, reasonable distance before they even get the chance to close in the distance on you. So, but that's, military tactics. That's a different kind of mindset on its own. But I feel like it would be beneficial for everyone if we had a little bit more awareness of our environment that we're in. And then furthermore, I don't know if YouTube is going to, close out this video because I'm showing this, but we need protection. We need protection. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to be a big O advocate and like say, oh, I made this video because I have a certain agenda. No, that's not the point. But I would be hard pressed to say that I wouldn't make this video if I didn't want to at least push the idea that we need to have protection for ourselves. We need to have some sort of protection, whether that be a firearm, whether that be, learning martial arts, whether that be learning about some sort of self-defense tactic to keep yourself safe and further increases your chances of survival against a perpetrator. We need to have it, and we need to go at it 110%. Now, am I saying that your 89-year-old elderly needs to go around carrying a firearm? Maybe that's not reasonable, or not reasonable. That's not practical, right? That's not realistic. I'm not advocating for that. It would be great if they could, if they had the means to, and they're of the idea that they want to do that, then let them do what they want to do. But if you're the caretaker of somebody that is not physically able or mentally able to handle that kind of responsibility, carrying a firearm and doing your due diligence to keep up with training and getting the right licenses and ensuring that you're being safe about it and responsible about it, then at the very, very least, we need to have a conversation with our elderly. And then those that are susceptible to being attacked, we need to have a conversation with them and say, hey, you know what? Let's go out in twos, let's go out in pairs, or hey, let me walk you to your car, or hey, I think you should really be more aware of your surroundings, or like make sure that you look both ways and whatever. The old adage of look both ways before you cross. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to push for right now. Look before you start going into a public area that's especially dark and you can't make out who's behind you and whatnot. And that's pretty much what I was trying to get at in this video. It's just what's going on right now is absolutely terrible. And those that have a platform, those that have a bigger voice than all of us, I implore you to at least use your platform for good and do more than just, share the typical stories and articles that everyone else is posting on their Instagram stories and reels. And then shortly right after that, you're posting, personal photos of you in bikini and whatnot. Like, that's great. But the skeptic in me finds it hard to believe that you're genuine about the actual change when you're posting completely wildly different content right after, you made your obligatory required posts for Asian Americans daily. So just food for thought. I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for this, but you know what? That's just how I feel. If we want change, we need to instill the change ourselves and go at it 110%, not just share a bunch of stuff and then hope that, someone bigger than us is going to make it happen, because no one else is going to start it. At least be the one you're going to initiate it. And then from there, we can get the progress rolling. It would become a snowball effect, and just keep moving and moving. 1 becomes 2, and then 2 becomes 10, and then 10 becomes 1,000. So be that person. Be the change that you want to see. And I almost forgot. Keep it 808. Love you guys. Have a good one. Be safe.